Gather your party and let us venture forth back to whatever it was that we were doing. Probably getting killed. So this is part 17 of Adam vs. Pillars of Eternity, and if it is something that you are not yet familiar with, I'm doing a playthrough of me getting interrupted by Swamp Thing over here. I'm doing a playthrough of Obsidian Entertainment's Pillars of Eternity, which, as you can see, is a role-playing game in the isometric mold. Yeah, I'll be playing through the game, offering commentary on the game's mechanisms, the game's narrative, and just generally kind of flouncing my way through what Obsidian has to offer. So let's all get to it, shall we? If you remember in the last session, I exploded a drake. The dragon deconformed to reality and things got real. I'm feeling pretty confident about my character's combat skills these days, on account of my absolutely solid trouncing of the last dungeon that I was in. Though, admittedly, I'm aware that the dungeon was, yeah, it was quite quite underleveled for me. So I get that. Let's see how we're doing quest-wise. What are we doing here? All right, so we're traveling to these cliffs to find Sagani's village elder, Persok. And I think that I think we're in the right area. So I'm just going to be exploring this zone, looking for clues. I want to get Sagani's quest worked on. I've started to do some work on the various NPC quests that I have. We've sought some treatment for Aloth. I know that there's an opportunity for me to look into Durance's quest a little bit, but I'm also dramatically underpowered for that quest. So we're just kind of killing it in this area. I think that Sagani's quest should be fine for me to explore. I'm also super interested in seeing what else we learn about Sagani's culture and about her people as a result of doing this quest. I find her super interesting as an NPC. She's got kind of a I don't know, kind of a unique vibe for fantasy games. You don't see a lot of sort of northern indigenous people inspired sort of stuff going on, which is kind of cool. I'm curious to see how far they'll go with that, or what elements they'll continue to use and which ones they won't. There we go. So I wonder if that's a normal thing for this world, to just have elementals floating around, you know, able to be randomly encountered. They're not normally a thing that you just find on an encounter table. So I'm wondering if maybe there's some kind of like a random stone. I'm wondering if this sign that the elementals are around is a sign that something else is going on. So we'll see if that's tied into it. The only other place that I've seen elementals is in the volcano that I went into and immediately noped and went back out of, because, yeah, not a thing that I wanted to do. There was a lot of bad things in there. So let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at this rock here. A lively breeze ruffles your clothes as you approach the edge of the cliff. A cave mouth yawns from the cliff face. It's only a dozen feet below your position, but the weathered rock is too smooth to scale. A rock perches near the precipice. It feels like a sturdy anchor. Tie your rope to the rock, securing it with a grappling hook, and climb down. So I found that grappling hook before, so that's cool. This feels like if it were a tabletop RPG, it would be a trap. I would be like, cool, yeah, yup, I could totally climb down. Nice safe rock. Thanks, GM. I'm gonna wait to climb down though. I would like to take a look at my encyclopedia about blights, because as someone in chat pointed out, it's a great source of information. So let's look at wind blades. So amorphous clouds swirling with violent energy, humanoid shapes materialize and vanish, faces scream in agony. Jeez. Spirit winds often create blights. I see. Okay, so there you go. So they're evidence that of a Buak, which we saw in the very beginning, a thing that I survived and probably shouldn't have been able to. Pure chaos and confusion. Destroying them is a mercy to the souls trapped within. So they're not elementals in the traditional sense. They're elementals in the they're not even elementals. They're bound spirits. So that's kind of cool. Natural phenomenon. And then here we go. So experimenting with blight creation is a questionable activity that has earned Animancers a bad reputation. So here's a way that this game is different from Dungeons and Dragons. Now I assumed that they were elementals, right? Because they look like them. They're just big clouds flying around shooting at stuff. But we're learning that they're actually spirits bound into elemental forms by those spooky purple windstorms. It's cool. I wonder if the fire ones are the same. Yeah, exactly. So it's exactly the same description. Neat. I wonder if that's true of all elementals, or if it's true just of some. Like, I wonder if we're going to run into more, like, sort of normative or traditional elementals. Hey, let's have a word with the purple blob. As you reach the end of the bluff, you recognize the exact location from your vision of Persok. He was here not long ago. Sagani stands alert, the Adra statuette in one hand while she scans the cliff. You close your eyes, feeling the ether for some trace of Persok's presence. The darkness behind your eyelids takes shape. You feel Persok running through the forest this time, hurtling and dashing around rocks and trees. The scenery whizzes by too fast. You can't make out the details between the blurred greenery. Something looms out of the trees ahead of you. Persok finally stops in front of an Adra arch. Adra arch. Do you recognize a natural arch made of Adra? They got something like that in Glanfath across the water from Twin Elms. I know where to look next for Persok.
In these visions, I don't suppose you're getting a sense for who Persok is now.
Someone who appreciates the scenery? Nothing against East Steffi Forest, but you haven't seen the Southern Lights over Nastak. Cool, so they're in the cold areas in the south.
Seems like we've made more progress together than I've made in a year.
What was he like?
That depends on who you ask. I talked to everyone in Masuk before I left. I heard he was a strong leader, a dependable builder, a caring grandfather, a wise elder, a generous neighbor, a cunning negotiator.
He was a lot of things, this guy. Might as well be one of those impossibly perfect heroes. Yeah. Well, and he's not. Probably all those things at different times.
The odd thing is, many in Masuk weren't much older than me when Persok passed. And yet everyone wanted to make sure he heard about something in particular. Our trade with the Amawa, our successful hunts, peace with neighboring villages. It just seems odd that so few of us remember him beyond the things he did for the village. Most of his family members, the ones who knew him, are in their twilight years now. And Persok was too busy to spend much time with his younger relatives.
So I'm less interested in hearing about Persok, because Persok's not going to be in my party, and I haven't really got anything invested in that NPC, but I do like learning about Sagani through what she tells me, or through what she has to say. Itumak yawns and impatiently nuzzles her hand. Yeah, me too. Good call. You changed your village. That's worth remembering.
Perhaps you're right. Anyway, what about this Theos character you're searching for? Seems like he was someone important to you. What do you remember about him?
Yes! All I remember about him is he had an impressive beard.
Not a lot to go on, huh?
Well...
Hopefully you can pick up a few more clues about him while we're running around.
Enough chatter for me, or Persok will find himself a new body before we can get to this one. We gotta hurry or my friend will die before we find him, which shouldn't make too much of a difference, he'll just be far away. Tell me about Itumak. Good hunter, but not much of a talker. That's been fine by me. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, he is a fox. We don't know what the fox says, but evidently not much. When we hunt in Nastatak, we almost always bring our foxes with us. Oh, so there's more than one. It's not like she's just a, It's not like she's just like a special animal companion, or he's not a special animal companion. There's more of them. Okay. Itumak has always been my favorite. Okay, well, let's continue. Alright, so it's not really much of a progression of her quest. Let's climb down with my grappling hook. You fashion your rope to the rock and descend. Suddenly a strong gust of wind whips from the bay. You struggle to hold onto the rope as the breeze tosses you around. The wind whistles through the crags, but you hold tight to the rope. Moments later, the gale subsides, and you make your way to the mouth of the cave. Alright. The mouth of a cave. It's got a fire burning. I wonder if that's... okay. I wonder if there's anybody in here. Several fires, no less. Oh, obviously lit by this Darghoul. Yeah. Oh, all these Darghouls. Excellent.
Yes.
You know, I found myself wishing several times throughout this grand adventure so far, wishing that I had Turn Undead spell of some variety.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't, so I'm having to make do. That's okay. Instead of turning them, I can just mulch them somewhat. No, wait. That's the bad one. This is the one I wanted. I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting for me to make a stupid mistake and nuke one of my own characters. I probably already have, knowing me. These guys are tough.
Yes.
Which is cool. Pretty into that. Throw the healing spell on this guy.
Huh?
No, he's not gonna be able to get room, is he? Okay. Not really sure what's happening with the fox here. I guess it's dead, but it's just standing up still. Oh, my tank. Oh, there you go. No, he's okay. He's still good. 5-second rule. Five-second rule definitely applies to PCs. That's what death saves are.
Eh?
Okay. Anything in here? Yeah, there we go.
I shall be discreet.
Ooh, a ring of wizardry. Not only a ring of wizardry, but some cave coral. Two centuries after Telda forged a ring extending her spellcasting power, a wizard of the Valen Republic sought to improve upon her design. Almert of Salona was never known for a particular original scholar of spellcraft, and many of his peers accused him of outright plagiarism. It's widely held that the reason he never received much credit for this ring, the one truly remarkable achievement of his career. Aw, poor sucker. That's really cool. So it gives him bonus spell use. Which is good, because I'm always a little hesitant to use up spells that I Yeah. Use up spells that I've been sort of saving. I'm that player who ends you know, a 100-hour Final Fantasy game with all the elixirs from the whole game still in my inventory after the last boss. It's not optimal. Not optimal, but you know how it do. Oh, Master Metroid, I'm so sorry that you're in Winnipeg. I mean, unless you're having a good time in Winnipeg, in which case, good, congratulations, but yikes. It's really quick on the uptake, Aloth. Nicely fired. Oh boy, here comes another one. Alrighty, so the last time that I did a fight like this, it was a little hectic. I'm pretty sure I lost somebody the last time I did it, but let's try it again. Let's see if I can get through this fight without losing any characters.
Yes.
Ready, Watcher.
I mean, the dog obviously doesn't count.
This isn't working.
Aye?
Eh?
Okay, here we go. Alright, down at 2 points, so she's gonna have to do some attacking.
How may I help?
I'm gonna try and knock down. Oh, I gotta put some defensive spells on this dude.
What? On your word.
Point the way.
Okay, here we go. Some dragons of our own. Back us up here. And hopefully they can help take out some of the smaller Zora. Oh, attack. Here we go. Oh, crap. Didn't get to cast his defensive spell. Oh, that's a shame.
I'm here.
Oh yeah, I'm losing party members left, right, and center.
I'll let Margaret's fire bless this. Your tail ends.
Careful, they're thinning our number.
They are thinning our numbers.
For Takoa.
Yeah, this didn't go very well.
Following your lead. Fight on, my friend. Fight on, my friend. On your word.
I have a feeling we might be out. Yeah. Okay. Let's take another shot at that. So again, the incredibly low stakes for tabletop RPG combat. We can be a little bit better prepared for, a little bit better prepared for this encounter this time. Throw one of those down.
Huh?
And, mark that guy, and then we'll run back. Okay, well, I think we're gonna go for smaller targets this time, and we will try to. I'll try to get that priest hypnotized or mind taken. What are you doing? There we go. So the priest is on our team temporarily.
Yeah.
That should help. And actually, I'm gonna just start with everyone targeting the same character. Well, I'll go after this guy,
Eh?
and then I'll spread out from there.
Yes.
Get some defensive magic happening first.
Point the way.
And hopefully that will
Hey.
help.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so he's free again. So let's try to hypnotize another one.
This isn't working.
Feel like it's going a little bit better this time. So that's good. There we go.
Yes.
Dragons. I wish that the dragons would aggro the enemy a little better, but that's fine.
Not even slowing it down.
More heals. Just constantly heal yourself. Yeah, that's doing better. Alright, so the champion will, oh wow. Good, breath weapon. That's fine. That's what I wanted.
This isn't working.
There. Hit him a lot.
Thing isn't doing the job.
Can't get a good shot like this.
Eh?
That's not very helpful.
We're down one.
Mm-hmm.
If we take them guys, take them all with us.
There we go. Alright. So, fight's over.
Got it.
And several tons of equipment has been gathered up. And we're ready to continue. I'm gonna camp right here, on account of not wanting to continue without any of my spells. I might as well finish exploring this area. Random animal. So you want to know something that I thought was interesting as I was thinking about, because I was thinking about map clearing I guess between the last time I was playing and now, and about some of the West Marches concepts that Steven and I talked about. I should check my quest. And about how do games encourage you to explore the space that that the world presents, right? Like if you're a GM or you're a game designer or whatever, and you make a big complicated world, you want people to see as much of it as possible. And for a role-playing game, computer role-playing game, you build the world no matter what, because you can't predict where people will go. You can guide them with quests, right? You can move them from one location to another using quests as an incentive. You can also rely on the implied incentive of, I paid, $50 for this game and I want to explore all of it. But, you still have to design the whole thing. Whereas in a tabletop game, you're designing on the fly. And I think that we end up with a lot of frustrated tabletop GMs who design their tabletop campaigns like computer RPGs, where they're like, well, I'm going to invent this entire complicated world, and then I'm going to I'm going to try to push the players to fill out all of the map space. And so if you want to build that world, if you want to do all that work, like Steven has done in West Marches, how do you incentivize players to explore, right? Like, there's no real incentive in this game for me to clear this whole map. I didn't get an achievement for it. I didn't, like, World of Warcraft does that, but I didn't do that, right? I have no reason to explore the whole thing in the game. So, you know, it's a question of, you know, it's a question of behavioral modification, right? Like, because games are just, and I've said this before and will continue to do so, you know, games are mind control, right? Games are about convincing people to behave a certain way, and you know, it's one of those things that I don't think is perfected yet. I don't think we know the exact amount of manipulation of player behavior that we want to have in games, and it varies from game to game, right? Some role-playing games, like tabletop games, do this really well and put a lot of influence on what you can do in the game and have very stratified behavior. Like, if you're playing Polaris, there are ritual phrases that you use in the game to do certain things. It feels very much like a video game. I mean, even the Apocalypse Engine games are like this because they have ritualized sort of phraseology where they're like, if you say this, if you describe your character doing this thing, it triggers this mechanic. Yeah, so it's a thing that I think is really it's delicate, right? It's delicate trying to decide how much of any given push you want to put on people. And so you'll see that when Steven and I work more on the game that we're designing together, you know, that's going to be a big thing, right? And already looking at the YouTube comments from the videos that we've done so far, you know, you can kind of see people saying like, well, you can't push people to roleplay. You know, you have to expect that that's an intrinsic behavior. Just like in this game, the designers have decided to assume the intrinsic behavior is, I'm going to fill in the map, right? So, I don't know, they're choices. World of Warcraft doesn't assume that you want to wander from place to place. World of Warcraft wants to incentivize you. It wants to say, hey, go everywhere, see everything. So speaking of going everywhere and seeing everything, I'm specifically in this area. I've left the wilderness and wandered into Heritage Hill because I wanted to see an area of the town that I hadn't been to yet. So evidently I'm being thwarted as Heritage Hill is closed. Let's go find out why.
Good day, stranger.
This district's closed by order of the Duke himself. What's going on in there? Look, even if I were allowed to tell you, I don't rightly know. All I can say is, whatever it is started 2 months ago. The guards closed the gate. Talk to something unnatural. It still wakes. It's a dungeon. it's the bad part of town. How do I get inside? Trust me, you don't want to. I have to get permission from Wyla to keep the first fires. Okay. Ah, okay. So this is actually part of my main quest. Alright, so let's go find Wyla at the keep and we'll talk to that person. Oh, the greatest griffin. That's where the poor people live. Yeah, it's Redmond. It's the Redmond Barrens. You can't go there. Or, I don't know, maybe you can, but don't come back. Yeah, also, jerk guard telling me where to go. So here's the thing that, I mean, I don't have a ton to say about the topic. Well, maybe I do. I don't know. I think that I'm maybe not the best equipped to talk about it. But here's the thing that I now won't be encountering in the game that we were talking about when I first started it. The Kickstarter, the Kickstarter backer, like, joke, plaque, the tombstone or whatever, for the limerick or riddle or rhyme or whatever. I can't remember what it was exactly. About the guy who committed suicide because he had sex with a woman and realized that it was not his idea of what a woman is, and how there was deliberation and how that content was changed, and of course, because there's always this debate when these kind of things come up where something happens, there's people who are hurt or upset by it, they express concern, people get behind them, it becomes a thing, game developers have to make the decision whether to change the hurtful content and have to deal with people being abusive to them about how dare you fold to these these PC pressure and these social justice warriors telling you what to do. That's censorship. It's not censorship, but we'll talk about that later. And then, or they can not change it and be seen, I think rightly, as not caring about a part of their audience being hurt by some of the content that's in a game that they made. It's a really tough position to be in, because we have the added complication. It's not only like, did the company make a thing and people were offended or upset by it, but the company made a thing and then someone paid them to put offensive content into it. And it's tough. And I'm one of those. I'm in a position socially where I'm not really susceptible to being offended. Honestly, like, for the most part, I'm pretty immune to people saying bad things about me. I'm a white man. I occupy a large North American city. I can pass as a straight person all the time. So, my opinion on the matter is pretty low value. And this is a thing that, it's not to say that the opinion of everybody of that social stratum is low value, but I'm just saying, like, I don't have a lot of stake in it directly, so it's hard for me to talk about. So I think that my advice would be that if you're curious about that as a concept, if you're curious about censorship and social justice issues in games, this one in particular, because I have lots to say about LGBT issues, but mostly ones that pertain to my direct perspective, right, that I'm able to say. So here's the thing. Read about it, right? Read a bunch of different points of view, because there's extremes on both ends, and the actual answer, the real truth of any matter lies somewhere between the two. And just like Crossstave says, you should always bow to PC pressure, because PCs have all the hit points, all the weapons, and they'll probably kill you with Fireball for looking at them wrong. If you want to talk about this stuff more, certainly, like, please do in the Twitch chat or in the YouTube comments. But it's a thing that I just don't. I don't know. I don't feel equipped to necessarily address. But I did want to talk about it because I know it had been changed since we started playing. So I just wanted to put it out there.
Hail and well met.
But let's see what Justicar Aldmar has to say. Let's focus back in on the design of the game. So every day we get more from the hinterlands pouring into Defiance Bay. Keeps us busy on the watch. Looks like you've recently arrived yourself. Tell me about the Crucible Knights. So the Crucible Knights are the guys that the dozen were all pissy about. They were like, oh, they're stuck-up jerks. They're all paladins and no one likes them. They're lying. Defenders of Defiance Bay. Not a formal knighthood, the first organized militia to oppose the rule, and today largest force in the city. So they're sort of unofficial cops. Officers are required to have their souls read by Critter Out and done right. Okay, so I know about. Does it require? Okay, so these unofficial cops, the militia, are supposed to go to Dunreed Row and get their soul read by a cipher, which we met in a previous episode. Nothing messy in your soul's past. Keeping the ranks pure is fine. I wish they were more careful in hiring their ciphers. So this is an interesting concept. The cops, not only do you have to be accountable for your own behavior, you have to be accountable for the behavior of your past incarnations. So That's kind of cool. Like, oh, you can't be a Crucible Knight because 1,000 years ago you kicked a puppy once. That's heavy, and that's also a really cool concept. And I feel like it would fit perfectly in any game with like paladins. Like, you can only join the order if we can detect evil on your past. That's really cool. I like it. He shifts his weight, glances at the empty halls. They're mostly Orlans. I'm sure they're talented enough, but you can't trust them. Hostility's in their nature, and they've learned to hide it over the years. Racist? All I'm saying is they should be supervised by other folk. That's reasonable enough, isn't it? No. No, it's really not. You're wrong. I'm just speaking the truth. Nowadays, it seems that's the biggest crime of all. Where's the option to tell this guy he's a dick? Who are you? Just some soldier, huh? Headquarters, the Crucible Knights, which I already know. Fine. Aldmar. You're not very nice. Alright, well, I don't really want to rob the place, seeing as that this guy just explained to me how they're the largest military force around. I do want to find that that character that will give me... Yeah, there she is. Lila. The Justicara's gaze flickers over you briefly before turning to the novitiates gathered in the training area. I always thought that was a fun word choice, using novitiate instead of novice. Is there a difference? There must be. People use them in different situations. If it's about patrols, my novitiates are already stretched to their limits. Between the refugee influx and the mess at Heritage Hill, I simply don't have any units to spare. After a pause, she looks you over again. I'm sorry, was there something else you need? Something wrong at Heritage Hill? What isn't wrong is the real question. Ooh. A whole district of walking, flesh-eating corpses. So it is the Redmond Barons. Sealed the area 2 months ago after I lost one of my finest commanders there. The second guard rotation... This is the second guard rotation to disappear. Okay. There are already enough rumors about the place floating around the keep that my soldiers whispering about these disappearances. This is a classic... Yeah, it's a classic, like, adventurer trap, where it's like, okay... So, the first adventuring party went in and were horribly murdered. The second adventuring party went in and they've disappeared. Maybe you're badass enough to do it. Are you a bad enough dude to kill the undead? Just as soon abandon the district. Oh, she wants to nuke them from space. Well, I don't know if you noticed, but looking at me, I've been keeping it on the DL, but... I have all this heavy equipment, and I'm splattered with the blood because I'm a player character, and I'm nosy as fuck. After what I just told you, want to go to Heritage Hill? I've lost trained soldiers there. Why should I let anyone in? Your trained knights have nothing on me, because I'm super cool. I'm not going to say that, though. You've got nothing to lose. Seems like I've been benevolent so far. Let's continue. If you're so eager to rush to your death, I won't stop you. And if you're somehow able to put a stop to this, you've got my permission. Hell yeah. I'm gonna keep looking around in here. So I have my main quest, but I'm also gonna look around and see if I can find any other sub-quests that might be lying around. Just like lying on the floor. You know, quests scattered around. Commander Cliver.
Just don't have the manpower.
Alright, Cliver.
Refugees from every corner of the Deerwood. The dozens getting them all riled up about animancy. At this rate, we'll need twice the soldiers to patrol Defiance Bay. Yes? Can I help you with something?
You're in charge of the Crucible Knights? Here in Defiance Bay. The High Justice is the leader of our order, stationed at Fleetbreaker Castle. I bet you it's a castle up on a sweet cliff. Why don't you have enough soldiers?
Fleetbreaker Castle. The High Justice has summoned almost half of my novitiates and more of my justiciars to a keep on the other side of New Hailmar. It's not for me to question the High Justice's orders, but it's left us short-handed. And mark me, we're just a couple sparks away from anarchy.
A couple of sparks away from anarchy. Let me get my lighter. That's unfortunate. And if you got nothing better to do than state the obvious, you can help me out. Forge Master Dunstan is working with an animancy scholar to build what we're calling Forge Knights. Okay, so welcome. Welcome everyone to the part of the game where it goes all crazy and we're talking about robot soldiers. This is the Pillars of Eternity Chappie crossover. RoboCop styles. I wonder if I can be RoboCop. Alright. Some agitator throws a rock at them. We don't have to worry about things getting out of hand. He's constructed the armor, but we need the scholar's research. Viana lives. The rest of the scrivener is out in Copper Lane, but haven't had the soldiers to spare. Go to the dormitory and see if you can find her. Alright. RoboCop quest. Stoked. So there's an anachronism that I think is, I don't know, maybe it's not an anachronism because I'm not super polished up on my, like, really early fiction, but it feels to me like the idea of constructed humans in the, like, constructed police officers, like, automatons doing jobs too dangerous for humans, like, that's a bleed from sci-fi. I mean, I get that, like, the Golem is a story about an automaton and that kind of stuff, but I feel like that's an anachronism that gets bled into a lot of fantasy games, particularly the Warforged. The Warforged in Eberron, I think, are kind of neat, where they're a race of those creatures.
I already told Cleaver they won't be repaired till next week.
Yeah, those creatures who have gotten away or been freed from their servitude as warriors. Yeah. Commander Cleaver said you're working with an animancer to build Forge Knights.
So much for his talk of secrecy. I'm building Cleaver's metal warriors. He says they're what we need to keep order in Defiance Bay,
So what's your favorite, chat and or YouTube, what's your favorite artificial humanoids in fantasy? And do you think they fit? Do you think that artificially created life, like Pinocchio style, like puppets animated by magic or whatever, or some combination of science, like steampunk probably has its own branch of coal-powered, magically animated golem people. I quite like the Warforged myself, but in general, I find that animated humanoid automatons don't really fit in my idea of fantasy. Sci-fi, well, of course, absolutely tons. Like, give me them. But in fantasy, it's, it feels a bit different. Alright, so the guy making the robots doesn't believe in the robot's ability. Group that can't stand together, headed for a fall. Yeah, you're right, Sagani. And don't get me started on the other problem. Those souls he's bought to power the Forge Knights. Ooh. You know that the phrase, souls he's bought, ugh, that's, yep. Alright, there's a reason you have to buy souls through less than legal channels. You should be clearing those scavengers off the road, not doing business with them. How are you creating these Forge Knights? Suits of armor and souls. Look, like, so kids are born without souls. You can buy souls and put them in... it's cool, it's interesting. But yeah, you can just purchase a soul. How does it even happen? Like an animancer takes it from a dying person? That's enough about the Forge Knights. I gotta get out of here. I do not agree with this business. It is cool that souls are a real deal. They're a thing that exists. Like, you can tangibly manipulate them. If you haven't read the role-playing game Wraith, it's an old White Wolf role-playing game. It is very cool and has lots of neat stuff about the things you can do with a soul once it's been unbound from a body. Like, make it into an ashtray. A young novitiate. Hard to believe he's ever seen battle, or that the scarred antique breastplate could possibly be his. Aw. Tell me about the knights, young man. Primary defenders, Defiance Bay. Ancient history now. Now the most prestigious company of soldiers in the Deerwood. How does someone I don't care. I thought this guy was going to tell me something because he has a name. The man has a name. But I don't care, I guess, evidently. Yeah, in Wraith, the whole economy of the game is built around souls. Like, coins are made out of fractions of souls, and all the equipment that people use are made out of souls. And yeah, what's the difference? So okay, let's take a look. Let's do a little thought experiment. So imagine you exist in a civilization where you know for a fact that you have an immortal soul. That when you die, you will be reborn. You'll get another chance. You'll have another body. What about if you were like incredibly poor and someone gave you the opportunity to sell this life? They were like, you work as a slave for me, and we're gonna have an animancer lock a chest and bind it up with magic so that only your soul can unlock it. Then we're gonna find you're gonna find this chest again. We'll find a way to get the chest to you in your next incarnation. It's full of gold because you were my slave for your whole life, right? Or what about the opposite? Like, I'll pay you all the gold in the world for 3 lives of slavery, right? For my family. Indentured servitude in a magical sense. Very, very cool. I mean, not cool in like that would be neat if it was real, but cool in the sense of like, it's interesting. And it also implies, like, I think that there's two kind of ways to look at the word soul, right? Like, and I think that they're using a pragmatic approach where soul is the animating force of the body. It's what gives you your personality, and in this case can animate life to life, right? Not the like philosophical concept of the soul that's like your significance, right? Like the concept of like it's, I don't know, it walks the line between the two. I think it's very it's not a sacred thing in this game. Yes, Stabio Stan puts it perfectly. I would gladly pay you Tuesday for your soul today. Alright, so we're at the Scrivener's dormitory. And we're looking for a Scrivener.
How do you do?
By Whale's eyeless face, you are one short ogre. But why are you green? And how are you getting the ducks to keep flying around you like that? Well, I mean, I'm green. That is true. But I'm not an ogre. Cautiously, we just said, and Paul's like, better not. Ducks are poisonous. Ducks are poisonous. He beams at you and nods his head. I'm looking for Fiona? I like Fiona. She's always talking about metal men, which is strange since I'm pretty sure she doesn't eat snowcap. I don't talk about metal men either, and I do eat snowcap. Huh. Dude's on mushrooms. Anyway, she's not right here. Flew away to Andra's gift to meet her friend Bessia. No, Clesia. Yes. Clesia. Clesia is the friend she's gone to meet in Andra's gift in a house, not a boat. North house, empty house. Andra's gift has a lot of boats. We should go rowing sometime. You're a Scrivener? Yes. I am a Scrivener! I read books. I write books. I once ate a book, but only because it looked like sweet pie, or perhaps it was sweet pie baked to look like a book. Interesting. Oh, I'm also a collector of herbs. Flowers, plants, I sell them. Mostly I eat them. Show me what you have for sale, you kook. Snowcap. What does this thing do? Gets you high. It wrecks your brain. Plus 10 will, minus 2 perception, might, and intellect. Properly prepared, they can propel individuals into a trance-like state. No way, you don't say. I'm stunned. A trance-like state. Well, let's see if this guy would like to buy a ton of weapons. Of course he would. Why not? Also, how can he conduct financial transactions with me when he's gooned out of his head? This is not ethical. Are there any other named scriveners in here? Is there a Bartleby? I really do need a jet emote, don't I? If I'm gonna keep playing games with drugs in them, and if I'm gonna be playing any Grand Theft Auto at all, there needs to be some kind of drugs in video games emote. Okay, so she's in Andra's gift, so I need to leave this neighborhood. We're playing the NPC rally, where we move from area to area looking for a character, and we find someone like them and find someone who's like them that's like them to tell me where they are, and we wander around from place to place. Okay. So Northern House, it's probably one of these. I'm gonna go with the I'm gonna go with the one with a name on it first. So in a world where, I guess not. In a world where the soul is a real thing, and where the soul passes on from person to person, is there a limited number of souls? And if so, how many? And if not, God, I'm gonna bring up a really obscure. Well, maybe not that obscure. Okay, so there's a role-playing game called Exalted, and in Exalted, souls work much like they do in this, where your soul gets put into a body, you live your life, you die, your soul goes away, it gets reassigned to another body by the bureaucracy of heaven, whatever. Now, in this setting, one of the primordials, one of the big monstrous pre-gods, decided that it didn't want to be around anymore, and so gathered up a bunch of souls, literally just like stole them, took a bunch of souls, put them into himself, and created a world of his own body, and then went away, went like to a different reality function, like he's somewhere else. And the amount of souls that he has inside him are the limit to the number of people that can exist. So there are, 10,000 souls or whatever, and these 10,000 souls, that's how many people there will be forever. But there's in the game, the thing that has inspired like conflict in that particular setting is that the souls are starting to degrade or run out. So they've started to wear down. So he's had to come back and try to gather more. I wonder if it's like that in this. I wonder how does one create a soul? How do you destroy one? Is it possible? Where is my friend? Oh, hot damn. As you enter the room, you see several figures huddled together. They stand at attention, armed but not in matched gear, like the Crucible Knights. Because if I know one thing about the Crucible Knights, it's that they wear matched gear. Let's see. Center of the group, one woman looms over another holding a flail. She snarls at the cowering figure. You've got pages of research here. You expect me to believe this was just your scratch work? It's nothing, I promise. Just my notes. You hear a painful smack as the woman backhands her captive. We know you were meeting with the Crucible Knights. You think they're the only ones with power in the city? They call us the dozens for a reason. Now we won't ask you again. At a nudge from one of her men, the woman turns and sees you watching. Her eyes narrowed. You shouldn't be here. What's going on here? Is this consensual? She tightens the grip on the flail. Nothing you need to know about. Oh, and then she attacks me. Not, not like, okay, cool. You should leave. I'm going to intimidate you. Just straight up, you are going to get killed. Fine, jerks. We're just going to fall back here and pick you off as you get to the door.
What?
Huh?
Okay.
Yes?
Mercenaries. We don't need their kind.
Ah, thank you. Hey,
Let's knock this guy down.
What?
Yeah, I'll try to blind these guys. I think that a lot of, I mean, fiction exists. Fiction exists to answer questions. I mean, or to posit questions that are yet unanswered. But it's a way for a lot of people to understand things that may be uncertain to them in real life. So when a game or a book or whatever, a short story, talks about the soul, it's a way to say, you know, what if this were the case? You know, what would this be like? To posit a reality that may not, you know, may not be true to the one that we are used to.
of course.
Always with that late game magic missile. Vienna's face is covered in bruises. Can I go an entire session of this without someone having a bruise-covered face? I don't know who they were, but thank you. I was sure they were going to kill me. What happened here? I thought I was coming here to meet my, friend from the Republics. Were you trying to sell your robot soldier plans? Classic. The Dozens have been watching me for a while. They've been working on a special project. They weren't exactly subtle about contacting me. Yeah, about this project. Deals with a rather rare branch of animancy. No offense that I probably shouldn't go into specifics. He commissioned it after... Yeah, well, I know about it, you tapestry of bruises. And you can see the trouble a little indiscretions got me into. Studied animancy in Ozia back in the Valen Republics. I came to Defiance Bay to research local advances. Been studying around Brackenbury Sanitarium. Found a position as scrivener at the Temple of Whale. I had access to many rare manuscripts. Blah, blah, blah. Had to keep my head down. Let's get you out of here. Maybe you could take it to him? Took it from me when I arrived. Okay, so now I have the research. Which is, you know, nice to have. Being that it's the quest and all. But I guess I have to decide. It's like the vertibird plans.
Yeah.
I now have to decide who to give them to. I'm gonna take the plans to these robot soldiers straight to the NCR. They'll know what to do with them. This world is like a beautiful tapestry of bruises. Okay. Well, before I decide who to give the plans to, I'm going to save my game because important decisions require you save first. And we'll also take a short break. So I'll be back in just a few minutes to continue our playthrough of Pillars of Eternity.